Alright, well this is Aaron Squire, and just coming to you guys after the New Year. So the first episode of the new year, as it were. We had a lot of stuff happen over the holidays. We got a couple of new cards. I'm not really going to go into those, some incantations and some other things. Some pretty exciting cards. I'm not really into the incantations personally. They are pretty powerful. They just nerfed them, which we're going to talk about when we get to the patch notes that just dropped. We just had a major patch drop this yesterday, actually. So I'd just like to say Happy New Year to everyone. I hope that your Christmas and your New Year's went well, and that you got everything that you wanted for Christmas. So today we're going to be talking about some of the Kickstarter news, which is going to lead us into a Hex update. We're going to talk about some of the games that will be going on. We've got a couple of tournaments going on right now with the Hex CCG Pro site, so that's pretty exciting to see. And then we'll move on to our deck doctor. Xdiocore has given me this deck before Christmas, so he's been waiting quite some time. Hopefully he'll jump in a channel with us, and that way I can make sure it is that I'm getting exactly what it is that he's trying to do with the deck, and so I can move it in the correct direction. So let's move on to some of the news. Okay, so we're going to bring this right over here and maximize this. Hold on a second. Yeah, that's right. Okay, and we'll zoom in here. So not too much on the Kickstarter website. Ooh, that's not good. It expired. No, don't do that to me. Let me see if I can reload it. Retry. Alright, well we won't mess with that then. Anyways, the Kickstarter news just basically led you over to the Hex channels. That's basically what was going on there. So I'll just kind of skip over to this, just some of the different patch notes that have been going on. The streams, we had the Tournament of Streamers 2 just finished out, and with that, Havoc, the winner of the stream, is going to be playing against Shaggy, as you can see here. And then it also led us to some of the other things that are going on with the MMORPG.com. They listed Hex as one of the top 5 most wanted indie MMOs of 2014, which is kind of a big deal. I mean, they're pretty well known in the MMO community, so that's pretty neat. Nice to see you, Technify. Nice to see you, Corbrob1, in my channel there. I hope you guys like the new interface. I'm going to try to get a better overlay in the future too. Just keep working on that and do this better. This is the one that you can actually get this yourself. They actually have this on the Hex TCG website. You can get this interface that I'm using, this overlay that I'm using. So moving on here. Not sure why it's not showing me the top of the screen like it should. Here's the Hex. Here's Hex. It's coming in at the 4th most anticipated Kickstarter game slash indie game out of 10 that they highlighted on MMORPG. That's pretty much all the news there is there. They just talk about how it is they're looking forward to seeing the dungeons and the raids, and of course we haven't seen any of that PvE content just yet, but I'm sure that it's in the works and it'll be coming to us soon. So here's the major news that we're going to go through right now. Some of the patches, patch notes, different things. I'm just going to go through some of the balance changes and then some of the new cards. I'm not really going to go through some of the gameplay things because they're just basically fixing stuff that was broken and some of this other stuff. So let's go through some of these balance changes. If you guys haven't seen already, we had John posted basically as soon as this patch dropped. John already had an article ready with his take on exactly how he felt about some of the different changes to this. So if you haven't checked that out, check that out at hexccgpro.com. So first one up is Secret Lab now costs 4 instead of 3, which is kind of big. I had a game where yesterday where I needed to drop my Secret Lab because I had a bunch of high-end, I had a bunch of expensive drops in my hand because I was playing, of course, the ramp that I usually play, and it being at that 4 is really making it a lot more prohibitive. 4 is definitely a lot tougher to get to than that 3, and it definitely slows it down and makes it a lot tougher. It's really a question of whether you really want to play that in your deck or not now. It's going to not be necessarily something you're going to put in control decks as much now. it's nice that they didn't change the cost of the card. So once you have it in play, you have it in play. So it's still going to be good for maybe some sort of a dwarf deck if you need a lot of artifacts or something. Incantation of Fear now costs 4 instead of 2, and that's mostly because it was just, again, too fast, and people could get it off really quickly by playing Incantation of Fear along with the escalation card that makes you discard cards, and then the champion that makes you discard 2. The escalation card makes you draw discard 4, so you could get it off basically instantly. Maddening Nightmare is another one. I believe that one was also another one of those incantations that was putting big fatties in play. Ozawa got more expensive, just so they've kind of put him back to where he was before. So now that giant life linking monster is a little bit tougher to get to. Life Siphon, that was the biggest one, is Life Siphon. Of course, John's been raving about this card since Hex Alpha has started, especially before Counter Magic was in the game. And being 1x instead of X, it kind of is going to make it a... I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Mill is different than discard. Yeah, you have to mill cards, but either way, putting cards in your opponent's graveyard is what's going to trigger that maddening Incantation of Fear, I believe, is what it is. But moving on to Life Siphon, that's kind of a big deal. Again, when I was playing a lot of Magic the Gathering, the cheapest thing that was like Life Siphon was like 3 plus X. So with that, you could actually target troops or creatures, and that was somewhat good, but not anywhere near as good as Life Siphon as far as efficiency. Booby Trap deals less damage. That's incidental, I guess. Ruby's Enchantress, Legionnaire of Gwaine, they kind of buffed. Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. A lot of decks are getting slower now because of some of the nerfs that are happening right now with the balance changes. Another thing that was interesting to me is someone on Reddit just posted how they were looking at Hearthstone and how it is that how Blizzard just keeps balancing that game and trying to get it to a perfect nirvana of card games, and that's really not possible. You're going to have swings one way or another. And right now with Hex, we've got a really large build-up, so it's going to be interesting when in the future, when we don't necessarily have privy to cards before it is that they're in the sets, when they're still going through their paces. It's going to be really interesting to see how much, if anything's going to get changed after things get solidified and a set is released. Legionnaire of Gawaine's attack has been changed to from 4 to 3, which is really kind of a necessary thing, I thought. Defense also 4 to 3. Right, exactly. It's never going to happen. But yeah, the Inspire deck again is one of those decks that really just needs a lot of help to make it good. It's good that we now have Blessing of the Fallen working properly, but it's probably just not enough right now. Menacing Grolk, they nerfed down its toughness, which is good. They also upped its threshold, which is the biggest part of that. So that's a huge one because a lot of people were playing this, and it just basically has a basically your opponent almost skips their next turn, and so it can really push through the damage you need. Yeah, the nerf on murder it's kind of like a nerf and a buff. So it went back down to 1 threshold, and now you destroy target non-artifact troops. So this is actually really good because now we can see maybe some more Arguses being played, and of course, what's it called? Eternal Guardian's going to get played a lot more now too. Volcanon didn't really change that much. I don't believe that changed at all. I think it might be... No, it doesn't look like it really changed. Corpse Fly doesn't really... I don't think that really changed. I think they're more or less like looking at the text on it. Devoted Emissary, not too worried about that. Elite Battletech had a big change. So now you can't just use it as some sort of fog. You can't just block something and then discard worker bots and then fog it back to your hand. You can only sacrifice the robots to put opposing troops back in your controller's hand. So that's kind of a big deal, but it wasn't like he was seeing a whole lot of play anyways. A really big change here with Curse of Oblivion. It now says choose target opposing card on the chain. Void all the other cards. So, right. Well, yeah, they did do that. So, I mean, it's with the Curse of Oblivion change, I mean, this is huge. It means that that spell is still going to resolve, but you're going to be able to, you know, it's only going to resolve one time. So what you could do with this is it could actually get rid of, like, say, a bunch of Fist of Brigadons. Someone plays that fist, you only have to deal with the one fist, and then all the rest of them, you'll never have to deal with it again for that game. Until the game 2 and 3. So I think this is a step in the right direction. What I would really like to see happen with something like this Curse of Oblivion is, and then we've seen this in Magic the Gathering a lot, is simply say name a card, and then that card gets voided out of your opponent's deck, hand, and graveyard. That's what it really needs to be. And the way that it's nice with Magic Online, the way it works is it actually just shows you a library of cards, or a bunch of a list. So whereas when I'm playing a physical card game, name a card, if I can't name the card, or if I forget the name of the card, then I'm kind of in a bad position. So that's where it is that in physical TCGs, when it is that you're in game 1, you're allowed to make notes. You're allowed to make notes as long as they don't hold the game up. So a lot of times when you see people playing cards, what they'll do is they'll make quick notes themselves, so that way they can remind themselves of cards they need to name with cards like this type of flavor of a card. So in the future, that's what I would personally like to see. So moving on, Bunjitsu, this is one of the champions, voids 2 troops, makes an abomination. They're saying he's still having problems, so I'm guessing he's probably still making 2 abominations instead of combining things and making 1. So probably that's all there is to that. Moving on, we got Mantis Elder Druid. It allows me to revert troops. So I'm having a interesting thought about this. I mean, now we've seen reversions in Blood, Wild, and Diamond. Originally, when I saw the first reversion card, I thought that Diamond was going to be like the dominant one that was going to have that, but we might actually get reversions in all colors, which could be interesting. So we'll see how that goes. But the nice thing for seeing a card like this is I can definitely throw it in my sideboard as like a 2 of in my mono ramp sideboard, and then I can use it to get rid of Inner Conflict. If my really big fat creature has been interconflicted, I can pull that Inner Conflict off of him by reverting him with Mantis Elder Druid. So it's really a big deal for me. I might even main deck him. The problem is for me that he takes up the 5-drop slot that I forget what her name is, Jadim, that she takes up. So Jadim or Mantis Elder Druid, probably Jadim is better. Right, exactly. Kind Mind. Also, once a deck meta is established, it'll be very known, and yeah, you can almost name a deck on the land drops, and that's what. Yeah, I always feel that way. I've even done that in modern tournaments where I see somebody play like their first fetch land or something, and I'll be like, yeah, I pretty much know what you're playing already, or I know one of 3 decks you're playing. Then they'll play like their first spell, and then I know. So moving on, we finally got to see Dro's Colossal Walker. If you remember when we were doing the different spoilers for the game, when they showed the full art, this is one of the cards where they actually did show the full art, where you're going to click on this little icon here and it's going to show the full art for the card. It's a little bit hard to read because of the text. So it says crush. This troop must attack each turn if able. If this troop doesn't ready during each of your upkeep, so it'll never ready again unless you pay 8 life. But there is of course a way around this. If you're going to use Dwarven Turbine, you can ready him with Dwarven Turbine and just keep swinging away. So definitely some play there. He only costs 5 for an 8/8, so he's really good. He's going to block a turn for you because he'll come in with that Summoning Sickness. So he's very similar to the feel of Fist of Brigadon for some sort of a dwarfy deck is what I would see him in. Very interesting card. Very interesting art as well. Kind of reminds me of some sort of AT-AT card. Another exciting card is this Urug, the Robomancer. For dwarf decks, he is a dwarf, so that always helps because I can tap him. He's unique, which is a little bit prohibitive, so you might play maybe 3 of them, 2 of them, somewhere in there. But you're going to be able to activate him and make those worker bots into war bots, which are 3/3 war bots, and then you'll be able to make those into 5/5 war hulks. Those war hulks also have crush, which is a lot like trample in Magic, so that's really, really good. Right, exactly. One eye open with this card could be pretty ridiculous as well. So you could make a worker bot and then transform it all in the same turn. Yeah, I would say I don't know. I don't know if I've seen him in my collection. I haven't looked for him specifically. They're saying he's in. You might try repairing your client or asking to see if anyone else has him in their collection in the chat channel. He may not be there. We were having some problems. Shaggy was in my channel yesterday, and I was trying to put together the Spell Shield deck that I had put together before, and unfortunately, the main card for it, Skirmisher, is not. If you try to put him in a deck, even if he's not gemmed, and then you save your deck, he just simply dumps himself out of the deck and says, and then the deck becomes invalid. So unfortunately, Nebelheim's Nelebrin Skirmisher is not even. You're not even able to add it to decks right now for some reason. So. Okay, well, Technify says he sees him in collection, so hopefully you'll see him in your collection if you do a repair. Oakhenge Ceremony. So this is a huge card for wild decks, for both the Shin'hare decks and for those mono wild ramp decks, of course, that are close to my heart. Probably a little bit better for the Shin'hare decks. But this card actually was interesting for me because with the changes to library that we saw, where it is that let's see here. Secret Lab changed from 4 to 3. Well, what happened was I was running 2 Secret Labs and I went down to 1 Secret Lab, and later I went back up to 2, but it went up, and then basically I subbed in that card. I subbed in Oakhenge Ceremony. So what this is going to do is this is going to allow me to have that another 1-drop, where it is before all I had were my mana dorks. So I could play, or my resource dorks rather, or I guess my shard dorks. Not sure what you would call those, but he's really awesome. I mean, this card is going to allow you to get to, with Shin'hare, it's going to let you get to those Lord characters to give all your Shin'hare +1/+1, or to a combo piece, or to a really big Shin'hare, the one that, I forget, he gets +1/+1 for every troop you have in play. You could get that guy out. You could just, I mean, he's really going to be good. He's also going to be good for the ramp decks because he's going to allow me to get to those really big 6/6 6-drop fatties that I keep playing. And then also, now that we've got murder changes, I might actually be tempted to play a singleton, a single Argus, or even a single Eternal Guardian with them. Moving on, Benjamin the Wise is a really big card, or Azumi. Or anything, really. I mean, it searches for creatures. So, I mean, this is a... Hopefully, you got to play with enough creatures to make it worth it. Because you could pull a bunch of shards, or pull, like, 3 shards and, like, 2 spells that aren't troops. And then this did nothing for you. So, you really got to run probably 50%, maybe 30 of your cards, or 40 of your cards should be... Well, probably not 40, but probably around 30 of your cards should be troops. Somewhere around there. 28, 30 of your cards. Moving on, we got Benjamin the Wise, another card that is more tempo-y type of card and more troop heavy. He's encouraging you to play with troops. He's going to get you a troop most of the time. Sometimes he's not. So he's going to give you that card draw. When he deals damage to your opponent, you look at 3 cards, and then if you have a human, then you're going to be able to put it into your hand. Shaggy wrote this article, and he actually put a deck together with him. Looked somewhat interesting. I would make some tweaks to it personally, but very interesting card to help you get to those combo pieces. And speaking of combo pieces, moving on, we got this Ascetic Aspirin. I know people in the when we were doing the Kickstarter were really excited about this guy. Unfortunately, not everything is showing for him if I click on these other things, because he is a transforming card. We've seen that transforming cards are working perfectly fine. We had Bunjitsu, the Shin'hare, he's working perfectly fine. Moving into, you can see here, the Enlightened Seeker. So this is when it is his second form. He's going to be the weakest and the most easy for your opponent to remove. Your opponent could just throw some sort of burn at him, or they could throw a Rage Fire at him and just deal with him at this point. It's going to be a little bit more difficult when he's in his first form. His third form is a 5/6, the Transcendent. Unfortunately, it's not showing up, but what it does is it's a 5/6, and it says every time you draw a card, instead search your deck for a card and then put that card in your hand. So it allows you to run combo. And so, like if you were to run the card, I'm thinking of it right now. It's the one that gains you life, the escalation card. It's called brain fart. Anyways, the escalation card that gains you 4 life, you wouldn't have to run 4 of them necessarily, or any escalation card for that matter, because if you get this guy in play and you have a combo, you could simply just keep drawing that escalation card over and over again until your opponent concedes, hopefully. The problem, of course, with the escalation card gaining you life is if you don't have a strong win condition, your opponent could draw the game out, and that's probably not a good place for you to be in. You could end up with a lot of like 1-1 situations or 1-0 situations, which wouldn't necessarily be good. Peak is a very much necessary card for a lot of these Sapphire decks. I feel like it could have costed 1 easily, and it still would be just fine. We aren't seeing a lot of nice 1-drops to give us some filtering. Again, if it was Peak for 1, we would only see the next card on our deck and then maybe put it into our hand. It would be nice to have the option to throw it on the bottom of my deck as well. Yeah, it's Eternal Youth, I believe, was the card I was looking for there. Yeah, Eternal Youth was the card I was looking for. Moving on, we've got the deck that Shaggy put together. Now, the interesting thing that he did with this deck was he decided to play Lady Elizabeth, which hasn't seen a lot of play right now. The reason why he's playing this in the deck is because in order to get from the Enlightened Seeker, from this 0-1, you have to have 7 cards in your hand. Now, you are drawing 2 cards a turn. You're drawing the initial card at the beginning of your I want to say upkeep, but it's actually the prep phase. During your prep phase, you are drawing a card then, and then at the end of your turn, you're also drawing a card. So he is going to fill up your hand pretty quickly. You do have to have 7 cards to transform him, and you can't play anything until he's transformed. So it's kind of a clunky card to play, but still interesting. So in order to get to that 7 cards really quickly, Shaggy's talking about how it is that he's going to play... where he is, yeah, the Aspirant, and then he will play, he'll basically use Lady Elizabeth to throw a card in your hand, and that way you'll be able to level him up all the way to the Transcendent pretty quickly that way. You also have a lot of card draw in this deck, given Oracle Song Interconflict. Not too many actions because he's also using the new Benjamin the Wise to draw those cards to get to those combo pieces with all the rest of this stuff. Interesting choices. Clergyman. Clergyman's pretty good. I don't know how many things are actually going to get buffed with it. I guess Aspirant does, which is kind of neat. You always got to look when you're playing the different Inspire decks. Exactly what are you inspiring? And that's, I think, another one of the downfalls to Inspire decks is you have to look up the chain when you're choosing what to inspire. I'm looking at this deck, and I'm not seeing any 1-drops, so he had to run a high curve. He's running 25 resources. He's also not running the 4 obligatory Shards of Fate, but that's an easy change that could be made. He is running Lightning Armada, which, of course, he has a lot of cards in his hand, and so this is going to be a very, very large fat body to finish him out. So this is a win condition for the deck. Pretty interesting looking deck. I haven't tried it out yet. I might try it later. And then he went through a bunch of questions with Dan. I won't really go through a lot of these. It's basically talking about how they choose to balance things, how they decide not to do things. I actually sat next to Dan at the Hex dinner and showed him a card, and he is Chosen is one. Chosen is he is a human too, I believe. Is he a human? Yeah, he's a human warlock. But Dan is I have a lot of faith in Dan doing a lot of game balancing, and he talked to me about how the flavor of, I had a card that I showed him that I wanted to make, and he gave me a lot of pointers on exactly what to do, what not to do, what they liked and what they didn't like. Also, the Wild Root Dancer, I forgot to mention that the threshold on that is going to make it much more prohibitive, and we aren't going to see it in as many decks as we used to see it in, which is also a very, very good thing. So let's move on to do the Deck Doctor. We've been on for about 25 minutes. This one might take a little bit of time. I actually did a sort of deck doctor in the client, but the client was having some problems for me, so we may not actually get around to this. So let's look at what we've got going on here first of all. So this is Xdiocore submitted this to me. Now this is before there were a lot of extra cards that we have now, so a lot of things are going to change just from that. So he's running the Hop Hero Samurai, but he's only running one. He's running one Bloodbearer, and we've seen Bloodbearer now had a name change. Not that that makes that much, or actually he's just running. I'm sorry, not Bloodbearer, but the other one, the one that puts two things in play. Anyways, he's running a Bloodbearer, Monika'Shin. He's running. Hop Hero has been in for at least a couple weeks now. He came with the Christmas patch. Anti-Evil 2, and he does work properly. However, he's a large investment to get him online because you have to sacrifice troops. Unfortunately, that's not okay. Okay, let's go back. Oh, I guess it's not going to show me. Okay, well, let's see if it'll come up this time. Okay, so there we go. You have to sacrifice troops to get him to work. You have to have 3 counters on him. Yeah, you have to have 3 counters. So you have to sacrifice 3 troops to get him to his second phase, and then 3 more troops to get him to his third phase. It's a lot of sacrifices to make, and if your opponent takes care of them, if they remove them in any way, that's a lot of card advantage you basically gave away to your opponent. So it's really a very difficult card to use properly. However, you do have him at his third phase. He can basically you can sacrifice any of your troops that you keep creating, hopefully with other effects, and just basically kill anything you want to that is targetable. Runir Commander is in here. He's running Wild Root Dancer because why not? Of course, the threshold changed on him. And this is another thing that it was a must for a lot of the, especially the Mono Wild Shin'hare decks, because you could make a Shin'hare and you could buff it with Root Dancer. There's another buff card that's going to help you out. He's running Izumi in here, which is a little bit prohibitive. It actually only costs 6, and the 3/5 is correct there. It's running, yeah, you can stack Battle Hoppers. That's like, yeah, that's your main outlet that you're going to use here. It's running 2 Eulogist, which is, you know, it can be really, Eulogist can get out of hand quickly because you don't actually have to sack things to get it to work. You can just, you know, block things or do other stuff, and eventually he'll get really big. Sensei, of course, is going to get you the rest of the cards in your deck. He's running the 3 Command Towers to give things a better front end, which is probably, I would think you would run Runir Commander, or not Runir Commander, but I would probably not run this before I ran the one that buffs everybody, the 2/2 that gives everybody 1+1/+1 as a Lord character. He's running 2 Wild Growth as a trick. He's running 1 Wild Aura as another trick. Running the Ritualist of the Spring Litter. This one is actually needs to see more play, I'd say, because it can produce Shin'hare really, really fast. I mean, every turn you can leave things untapped and make Shin'hare at the end of your opponent's turn. I think this guy is quite a bit better than Concubunny. Also, he's a 1/1 body, so he's at least a decent body. Concubunny is running in here because it makes Shin'hare all by itself. I don't know why it is that Concubunny couldn't have been a 1/1. That would have been nice. He's running the 2 Chlorophylla, most likely, so that he can get to Izumi. You could run a singleton Izumi at the top end, and he should be fine without having to run Chlorophylla. Chlorophylla becomes a dead card because he's not really a ramp deck. So that's probably one we definitely need to pull out here. Not a lot of focus. A lot of 2 ofs, 3 ofs. The 4 of card that he has in the deck is Sensei. Mushuachi he's got in the deck, and we've talked about him at large. However, we just had a major change to Murder, which is like one of the biggest cards that was going to deal with Mushuachi. So because of that, we might actually be able to get away with playing him now, because it doesn't, or does it target him? It says actually, I think they changed it. Let's go ahead and check the patch notes. They changed it to non-artifact. So you know what? Mushuachi's probably still out. Let's see here. Balance changes. They changed Mushuachi, or they changed Murder, destroy target non-artifact. Yeah, unfortunately, Mushuachi was working for me when I was trying him earlier, and I'm not sure exactly what Xdiocore was exactly going for with Mushuachi in this deck. So I'm not sure if he really wants him in the deck. He's not the greatest because he's easily removable. However, we could use him. Another one is Call to Grave he's playing in here. Interesting choice, I guess. So he could pull back the Mushuachi and play him and not have to sack things because he'll still be really big. Permanent +3/+3. So another thing about Mushuachi I really still feel strongly about is that he could have Crush as long as you sacrifice like at least 2 Battle Hoppers to him or something like that, or at least 2 Shin'hare. As long as you do that, he gets Crush. But if you don't sacrifice anything, he doesn't have Crush. Something like that could be useful, or maybe even where he could continually. I feel like it'd be nice if we could continually sack things to him and maybe give him abilities or something. Maybe he gets Crushed if you sack a Shin'hare to him. He gets like angry or something. That would make him at least mildly better. He was playing. I think he put together this deck before we had the shards. He's running 26 shards, which seems rather high. So he's probably going to flood quite often this deck. So let's go ahead and start by figuring out if we're going to keep Mushuachi in this deck. So I have people in the channel. You guys need to let me know, do we keep Mushuachi in the deck or not? Because that's going to shape a lot of decisions. And also we need to decide if we're keeping Hop Hero, because that's going to shape a lot of our decisions as well. So I actually made a mono blood version of this, but we could also keep the blood wild variant of this deck as well. So guys, let me know if we need to keep them or get rid of them, because that's going to shape a lot of my decisions. Moon'ariu Commander seems decent. For now, I'm going to just get rid of Izumi. We're going to get rid of these command towers. Just turn that to 0, and that should just get rid of them there. Wild Growth, Wild Aura. I don't feel like this is really a deck for tricks necessarily. I feel like if I'm in blood, I'd rather have removal. So I'd rather have straight removal than like trick removal, Hop Hero plus, yeah. So another thing we need to look at is, plus Ritualist, this is pretty good. Another thing you need to understand is that you need to pay 1 every time you're sacrificing a troop with this guy. Whereas if we play the guy that becomes a 4/4 whenever you sacrifice a troop, that's free. You don't have to pay for that. You can do that at any time. So if I need more counters, I can play that. Okay, so Core Prob 1 is saying keep Hero and ditch Mush, put in a Brood. Yeah, and that's exactly what I did. I actually put in Brood for this deck because with what we have in the deck, Brood will allow us to gain life. If we have Brood, I mean, it's very like situational, but if we have Brood, Hop Hero, and Bloodbearer in play, net 0. We gain dudes for free every turn, and I can sacrifice them a Hop Hero, and then I gain a life every time those guys die. So let's go ahead and step this guy up to 4. And we'll step up Hop Hero to 4, which is a nice, we've got a nice 1-drop range now. We've got 4 1-drops in the deck now. So we've got Root Dancer is going to be a little bit prohibitive. I think I kind of want to move away from playing Root Dancer in a deck like this. I think our curve is going to be pretty low, which is going to make it less optimal to play Root Dancer as well. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of Root Dancer for now. He's still a good deck, especially if you're in Mono Wild or something. I think the Root Dancer could easily go in a deck like this, but we're going to get rid of him for now. Ritualist of the Spring Lair, we'll probably keep him and dump Concubunny. Again, he actually blocks for us, whereas Concubunny doesn't. Chaos Key is, of course, that catch-all, but we have other things that are maybe a little bit better. I don't know that I necessarily need it because it's for things like Fist of Brigadon or like other permanents. Maybe we'll just take it down to 1 for now, and we also don't have a lot of ramp to get up to that 5 that we need to actually use it. Usually in our turn 2, we're probably going to want to play some sort of removal spell like Persecute instead of Chaos Key. Runts of the Litter is probably going to have to go in here as well. I think you're right about that. Call the Grave we're going to get rid of for now because it doesn't do a whole lot for us because we're creating lots of tokens anyways. We're going to go ahead and just take these. We're just going to blanket take these down to 10 and 10, and then I'm going to go ahead and throw some Shards of Fate in here. We also need to be mindful of our curve, of course. Sensei could probably stay for now. We might get rid of him. I'm not sure. Moon'ariu Commander is not bad for a top end. Nice beater. Unfortunately, he doesn't have Trample either. He doesn't have Crush either. Yeah, we will be putting in the Lord character for sure. So we're gonna actually let's actually start putting cards back in now. So we're going to go to all cards, and then I'm going to set it to PvP. Again, I cannot say enough how much I like TCG browser and deck builder. The mana curve it shows me, the how quickly it works. These guys are keeping everything up to date. They're really rolling with the punches to get things going. So I just like to just plug those guys for doing such a great job. Because otherwise, this deck building with the Squire wouldn't be what it is without them, for sure. Actually, I just like them on Facebook. I found out they have a Facebook. You can do their Facebook. They got their Twitter and their Google Plus. I encourage you guys, if you have a Google Plus, not too many people apparently do or use it that often, but give them those plus ones, give them some kudos, give them some love over there, because they're doing a lot of good work and they may not be getting all the recognition that they should be getting. So we're going to put in the Lord character, and when we talk about Lord characters, a lot of times we're just basically talking about a character that's going to give everyone +1/+1. Onslaught's probably going to be a little bit prohibitive because we're in 2 colors, and and we don't have any ramp to get into it. I have seen people play Howling Brave in this deck. It would be nice to have a Shin'hare Howling Brave in the future. I don't see why that couldn't happen. In the future, I hope to see a Shin'hare Howling Brave, something that maybe doesn't add threshold, but just allows me allows me to gain the +1 temporary resource. That'd be perfectly balanced. I think just being the Shin'hare and it doesn't gain me the threshold. That's fine. I'm perfectly fine with that. I think that would work quite well. Crash of Beasts is another one we might try in this deck. Cottontail Ronin has kind of fallen out of view for us as well. I don't know that we can play him in this deck. We might be able to play him if we were a mono wild. Ronin. By the way, I don't know if anyone's seen the new Ronin movie. I think it was 47 Ronin. I would really like to go see that. So if anyone has seen it and you know anything about it, let me know if it was good. I do enjoy Keanu Reeves personally. I know a lot of people feel like he can't act, but that's just my personal opinion about Keanu Reeves. Alright, so moving on. We gotta get those Shards of Fate in there, of course. Get those. That's easy enough. Boltpaw Wizard. We're gonna do a one of him for now. Shroomshaw's. They just changed the name on this guy. He used to be Shroomkin or something like that. But this is a big card for this deck. Really great card for us. Do I think Nature's Reigns is good enough main deck? It depends on the metagame. If I was going to run Nature's Reign main deck, I would probably run, in the current metagame, I might run 1 and run like 2 more in the sideboard. Usually I throw 2, 3 on the sideboard, 2 to 3 on the sideboard. It's pretty much an automatic. Incantations are a big deal, but to me, incantations, I really feel like I can either come in underneath them or I can basically get ahead enough where I should be able to win anyways. Past an incantation. I have lost to incantations. I haven't played them extensively, but it just feels like a lot of times, like for instance, if I end up playing like 2 or 3 incantations, especially because they just nerfed them and they made them more expensive. 2 of them are more expensive now. If I have 2 or 3 of them in my opening hand, I'm going to play these incantations and then sit on this open board state basically while my opponent bashes me in the face. So you really got to be careful with incantations on how many you're playing and what you're doing with them. I know that everyone wants to play 4 because it transforms all of them, but it's really a double-edged sword there to me. I'm not really a big proponent of playing incantations, although I know John is. John really likes the incantations. We could even change our champion here. So instead of Monika'Shin, we might decide to go with the other one, with the one that's lose 1, gain 1. Oh, I forget what his name is. Where is he? I forget what his name is, but basically, you gain 1 life, your opponent loses 1 life, and the reason why is because it's going to keep our head above water when we're playing with that permanent that's going to throw those battle hoppers into play every turn. Could be kind of important. Yeah, with Wretched Brood. So that guy with Wretched Brood. So Wretched Brood does better. Is in a lot of ways is better than Monika'Shin. So, but we need to make sure we can gain life. So we might actually even play like a single terrible transfer in here. I'm not sure, or even like a single something else. Necessary Sacrifice probably needs to be in here. Murder, we're going to play it. I'm going to put 4 in for now, but we'll probably pare that down. We might play a single Life Siphon as a game-ending card. Singleton Extinction isn't bad, and then maybe throwing another one on the sideboard wouldn't be bad. The thing about Extinction that you need to remember is that I get to choose when I play it. So if I have played Battle Hoppers and my opponents responded by playing something else and they're getting aggressive with me, they play that 3rd troop and I played like some Battle Hoppers, I'm like, yeah, and I happen to draw into my Singleton Extinction, I'll Extinction the board, and now I'm way ahead on card advantage, so that could help out quite a bit. I've considered playing Corrupt Harvester in here just because when I have Corrupt Harvester in play and I have Wretched Brood in play, it keeps my head above water as far as life gain. Somehow I missed getting areas. Bucktooth Commander. Here's our Lord character. Again, Lord characters are characters that give everything +1/+1. So that's going to be kind of important for us, possibly. I don't think we need to play Glimmerglen Witch on the sideboard, although I typically do. Yeah, I think we have plenty of cards to work with here, so let's go ahead and go back. Really need to be aware of our thresholds as well, so we'll go ahead and go back. We've got 71 cards in the deck. We've got 24 shards. We could probably bring it down to 23. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now so I can get kind of more of an accurate count. Looking at our curve, we've got a decent looking curve right now before we make any cuts to the deck. We only have to cut 10 cards really right now is what it looks like. So let's see. We're looking at, we got Persecute. How much removal do we need? We are a heavy troop deck, and having instant speed removal is really nice for tricks. The Boltpaw Wizard is really nice. We do have a lot of sacrifice type cards, so we have to be careful how many sacrifice cards we're going to play in this deck. We didn't put in the other one. Oh, we didn't put in the guy that becomes a 4/4. I need to go back. I'm not I'd probably play maybe max 2 of that guy. I have to find him now. I have to look for his picture. I forget what his name is. This is why you want to have the cards memorized. It's best to memorize the cards as much as possible, so that way you don't have to do this. It makes searching things a lot easier. Eulogist. No, not Eulogist. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Cauldron. Cauldron Ritualist. Again, this is a card that's decent. If you sacrifice twice to him, he doesn't get +3/+3 because it just simply says he becomes a 4/4. So it is a free sacrifice, which is nice though. We don't have to pay resources to get to that sacrifice, so it's kind of nice to have that guy. Yeah, with Ritualist there. Okay, Eulogist, we got Ritualist. So we need to be able to sack things. We need to have things to sack. This guy actually reads differently now. You don't actually get this. He just makes Shin'hare every turn, but you have to exhaust the Shin'hare to do it. So he's actually much different than this. I think his threshold requirements are different too. He's kind of a big engine card for us, and he's like another 2 Wretched Broods in the deck, although he's more targetable. So it's kind of a big deal for us. We kind of need him. We might need more of him. I'm not sure. Chaos Key we've kept on. We're going to throw like maybe 2 of these on a sideboard, I guess. Terrible Transfer, I'm not sure I really want. Necessary Sacrifice is nice because it's going to draw us more cards. I think the Singleton Extinction can stay. Life Siphon seems okay, I guess. The thing is, Terrible Transfer, we're in 2 colors, so I think that automatically kills that one for us. So we're going to get rid of that right away. Necessary Sacrifice, we're going to keep 2 of those for now. Murder, I think I'm going to take some of my removal down. We're going to take the removal down to 3 and 3 right now on the removal side of things because we really want to do a lot of aggroing in this type of deck. Now we're down to... Looks like we're down to... Oh, where's my cards? There they are. It's deck 6. We have 69 cards in our deck. 69 dudes. Necessary Sacrifice, Life Siphon, Wretched Brood. We got the 2 Wretched Brood. I feel like that's pretty good. I'm going to run just 1 Corrupt Harvester because it's not a Shin'hare, and it's mostly in there to keep our head above water with Wretched Brood. kind of a big deal. Ritualist is 1 wild, and now it's +1 any Shin'hare. Okay. The only problem with playing some of these cards is, like, I can't really... a lot of times I'm not going to want to sacrifice Bucktooth Commander, so we got to keep that in mind as well. Oh, I didn't put... you know what else I didn't put in here? I didn't put the wonderful... what's it called? Actually, I can just do resource cost, and I know what the resource cost is. It's 1. I did not put in Runts of the Litter. This is one where it's very difficult to get this right. I have run 3 in decks. I've run 2. We already have a nice amount of 1-drops in the deck, so we might end up pulling that down to 2. Probably 2 should be decent there. Maybe take our Ritualist down to 1, because it's not the greatest sack outlet. It's a combat trick, but not really, because our opponent should see that coming. Moon'ariu Commander, we're going to be sacrificing a lot of dudes in this deck, so probably not necessarily the best. We're going to take him down to 1 for now. We might actually remove him from the deck. Bloodbear is kind of a big deal because we're running a lot of things that are hurting us. Create 2 Val. This Shroomshaw is ridiculous. Shroomshaw is going to be ridiculous for us. I can guarantee it. Persecute probably... You know, a lot of our 1-drops and things can trade pretty well. And Persecute is that nice removal that we have for, like, early 1-drops. So I think I might actually be able to take that down to 1. I don't think I need that many Persecutes in the deck. So that's 4 removal cards. The Murder. Persecute's basically an early card, and for the early game, and then Murder is for the later game. Chaos Key, I think we can easily just remove right now. I think we'll just remove that from the deck. Let's see. Let's look at what our curve is doing. It still looks pretty good. We're at 65 cards, so we're 5 cards off. We need to dump 5 cards to get to where we need to be. I'm really not sure if I like Moon'ariu Commander. I'm not sure that he's really going to close out games for us. I don't think that he will. I think there's a better chance that Corrupt Harvester will, because if our opponent doesn't have blood or artifact creatures, Corrupt Harvester in a stale board state where it's stagnant is going to keep pushing damage because it has a little bit of evasion there. So let's go ahead and get rid of Moon'ariu Commander as that 4-drop. So that reduces our... We have 4 4-drops in our deck, so we still have some other things to look at. Ritualist, I think Ritualist actually costs 3. I'm not sure if they changed their cost on that or not. Wretched Brood costs 2. Got a lot of double threshold in the deck, so that might be problematic. Life Siphon probably doesn't do a whole lot for us either, so we're going to remove that. See, Sacrifice is going to draw me more cards. That's kind of necessary in an aggro deck. Sensei is decent. I might remove some of the Senseis. Let's see, I've got 10 minutes left in this episode before I want to try to close things out, so I need to just get rid of some cards. So let's just go with the easy ones. We're going to get rid of Extinction. Because I'm not sure that I wanted that. Let's take Runts of the Litter down to 1 because I've got a lot of 1-drops anyways. And I need to get rid of, what, 1 more card. Probably, let's see. Need that. I'd hate to get rid of a Murder. I don't think I can get rid of another Murder. Maybe a Sensei. I think Sensei is the cut to make here. Yeah, I think Sensei is the cut. He's gonna cantrip me into other cards in the deck. My 2-point range is pretty high anyway, so curve looks pretty good on this deck. Again, we could play Monika'Shin, or we could play... okay, I'm gonna probably have some trouble logging into my account, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and end the episode, stop it, and then I just need to stop my local recording, and then I'm gonna go and play this deck in the client. So, but before we do that, I'm going to look up the champion to show you which champion I'm talking about. The Gazog. Gazog's another good one that's going to keep our head above water. If you're going to mono blood, this is the guy you want for this deck, I would say. Yeah, that's true. I could probably run 3 Hop Hero instead of 4. Yeah, that's probably true. So we could do that and then do the Sensei up. Good call. Good call. I accept that. That's a good idea. This deck is completely open for you guys, or is it open? It's not. It is shared. So if you guys wanted to look this up later, it will be on the Hex CCG browser. You can look up my name. You'll see a whole bunch of decks there that I've made. So I think, alright, so I'm going to stop my local recording real quick and just do an outro right now. So tonight we talked about some of the different balance changes. We went through this deck for the Deck Doctor. Talked about some of the Kickstarter stuff with Shaggy and Havoc. You're going to be playing a game for Havoc winning the Tournament of Streamers, so make sure to check that out. That's going to be streaming on the Hex channel. I forget exactly what day. We had a big major patch that dropped, and of course I went over Xdiocore's deck. Hopefully I did it justice, and it's exactly the way he envisioned it in all of his dreams. I know that he was going to bed each night just thinking, man, I hope that Aaron Squire gets around to putting that deck together for me, because it's going to be awesome. And so other than that, this is Aaron Squire signing off, saying God bless you and your families, and try not to rage too much out there.